I stared at the text message from my brother for the third time, trying to make sense of it. Hey. So, about Mom's 60th birthday dinner next Saturday. Olivia and I talked, and we think it's better if you sit this one out. Her parents are flying in from Ottawa, and they're pretty formal. You know how it is. We'll celebrate with you another time. I set my phone down on my desk at the Royal Ontario Museum, where I'd been reviewing the final layouts for our upcoming exhibition on Indigenous Arctic cultures. Through my office window, I could see the crystalline edition reflecting the late afternoon Toronto sun. You know how it is. I did know how it was. I was 28 years old, and my older brother Marcus had been treating me like an embarrassment since I'd graduated from university 6 years ago. Never mind that I'd finished my PhD in anthropology at 24. Never mind that I'd published 3 books on cultural preservation. To Marcus, I was still just his awkward little sister who worked at a museum while he'd built what he called a real career in commercial real estate development. My assistant, Priya, knocked on my doorframe. Dr. Westwood? The minister's office just confirmed for Thursday. They want to discuss the reconciliation exhibition before the press conference. Perfect. Thanks, Priya. She hesitated. Everything okay? You look upset. I showed her the text. Priya had been with me for 4 years, ever since I'd been appointed the youngest chief curator in the ROM's 117-year history. She knew my family situation. He didn't, she breathed. Your own mother's birthday? Apparently, Olivia's parents are too formal for me to attend. Olivia. That's the girlfriend he's been dating for what, 8 months? 6, actually. But she's a corporate lawyer at one of the Bay Street firms, so Marcus acts like he's dating royalty. Priya shook her head. Want me to send him a very professional email explaining exactly what you do here? I laughed despite myself. No. Let him think whatever he wants. But it stung. It stung more than I wanted to admit. The thing about Marcus was that he'd never actually asked me about my work. Not once in 6 years. When I'd been hired at the ROM, he'd said, "Oh, cool. So like a tour guide?" When I'd won the Governor General's Award for my book on Inuit cultural heritage, he'd been on a golf trip and forgot to even text congratulations. When I'd given a TEDx talk that got over 2 million views, he'd said, "I don't really watch those things." Our mother knew what I did. She'd been at every milestone, every award ceremony, every exhibition opening. But Marcus had somehow constructed this entire reality, where I was just someone who worked at a museum in a vague, entry-level capacity, while he was the successful one, with his condo developments in Mississauga and Oakville. I texted Mom. Marcus says I shouldn't come to your birthday dinner because Olivia's parents are too formal. Did you know about this? 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Sweetheart, I just found out. I'm furious. You are coming to my birthday. I don't care what Marcus says. I'll talk to him. But I could read between the lines. She'd talk to him, he'd make it awkward, and I'd spend the whole evening feeling like an unwanted obligation. The pity invitation was somehow worse than no invitation at all. It's okay, Mom, I typed back. I actually have a work thing that evening anyway. We'll do brunch on Sunday, just us? A lie, but a kind one. My phone buzzed with a call. It was Robert Chen, the ROM's Director of External Relations. Natalie, we've got a situation. The Friday walkthrough with the federal ministers? It's been moved to Thursday at 3. I pulled up my calendar. That works. Who's confirmed? Minister of Canadian Heritage. Obviously. But they're also bringing Olivia Rosen, the new Parliamentary Secretary for Arts and Culture. Apparently, she's very interested in the Indigenous programming. My hand froze on my mouse. I'm sorry. What was that name? Olivia Rosen. Do you know her? I knew exactly one Olivia Rosen. Corporate lawyer, 31 years old, dating my brother for 6 months, owner of expensive taste and formal parents from Ottawa. Robert, can you send me her bio? Already in your inbox. I opened the email. There she was. Olivia Rosen, BA from McGill, law degree from Osgoode Hall, 5 years at McCarthy Tetralt before moving into political advisory work. Recently appointed Parliamentary Secretary for Arts and Culture. The photo showed a polished woman with dark hair and the kind of confident smile that came from a lifetime of success. My brother's girlfriend was a parliamentary secretary, and she was coming to tour the museum I ran. I sat back in my chair, a slightly hysterical laugh building in my throat. Marcus thought I was too low status to meet Olivia's parents. Olivia, who in 2 days would walk into this building and be briefed that she'd be meeting with Dr. Natalie Westwood, Chief Curator, the person who literally made decisions about partnerships with her department. I should have called him right then. I should have corrected the misunderstanding immediately. But here's the thing about being dismissed for years. Part of you stops trying to correct people. Part of you gets tired of explaining your own worth. Part of you thinks, if you can't be bothered to know me, why should I bother enlightening you? So I didn't call. I didn't text. I just started preparing for Thursday's ministerial visit like I would any other high-level government walkthrough. Priya caught my expression. What happened? Olivia Rosen, the girlfriend with the formal parents. She's the new Parliamentary Secretary for Arts and Culture. Priya's eyes went wide. You're joking. She's coming here Thursday for the ministerial tour. I'm leading it. Oh my God. Yeah. Are you going to tell Marcus? I thought about it. About years of you work there? And that's nice. And being uninvited from my own mother's birthday, because I wasn't successful enough to meet his girlfriend's parents. No, I said. I don't think I will. Thursday morning, I dressed carefully. A tailored navy suit from Holt Renfrew, simple gold jewelry, my hair in a professional low bun. I looked exactly like what I was. A woman who ran a department at one of Canada's premier cultural institutions. The ministerial party was due at 3. At 2:45, Robert briefed me in my office. Standard protocol. The Heritage Minister leads, but Rosen will have a lot of questions. She's new to the portfolio but apparently very engaged. Her background's in cultural policy law. I know, I said. Robert looked at me curiously but didn't ask. At 2:58, security called up. Dr. Westwood, the ministerial party is here. Send them up to the Great Hall. I'll meet them there. I walked through the staff corridors, my heels clicking on the polished floors. Through the windows, I could see the gallery where we'd mounted the exhibition on Arctic Indigenous peoples that had taken 3 years to develop. The one that had required consultation with 14 different First Nations communities. The one that had secured $8 million in federal funding. The one that Olivia Rosen's department had approved. I entered the Great Hall from the side entrance. The ministerial party was there. Minister Patricia Okeke, her chief of staff, 2 aides, and Olivia Rosen. Olivia wore a charcoal suit, her hair perfectly styled, looking every inch the rising political star. She was laughing at something the minister had said, confident and at ease. Robert made the introductions. Minister Okeke, Miss Rosen, thank you for coming. May I present Dr. Natalie Westwood, our chief curator. Dr. Westwood will be leading your tour today. I stepped forward, extending my hand to the minister first, as protocol demanded. Minister Okeke, it's wonderful to see you again. Thank you for making time for this. Dr. Westwood, always a pleasure. Your exhibition proposals are the highlight of my briefing documents. Then I turned to Olivia. Miss Rosen, welcome to the ROM. We're so pleased to have you here. I watched her face carefully. She was smiling, professional, extending her hand. Dr. Westwood, thank you for hosting us. I've heard amazing things about your work here. Her handshake was firm, her eye contact direct. There was no flicker of recognition, none at all. Marcus hadn't told her my name, or, if he had, he'd never mentioned where I worked. Why would he? In his mind, I was just someone who worked at a museum in some vague, unimportant capacity. Shall we begin? I said. I led them through the exhibition spaces, explaining our approach to cultural consultation, our repatriation policies, the partnerships we'd built with Indigenous communities across the Arctic. Olivia asked intelligent questions about intellectual property rights, about cultural protocols, about funding structures. She was impressive. I could see why Marcus was proud to be dating her. What I couldn't see was any indication that she knew who I was beyond my title. We reached the exhibition's centerpiece, a stunning installation of traditional Inuit clothing alongside contemporary Indigenous fashion design. This partnership, I explained, represents 3 years of relationship building. The garments are on loan from 5 different communities, and every aspect of the display was approved by their cultural councils. We're not just showing artifacts, we're facilitating ongoing cultural dialogue. Minister Okeka nodded. This is exactly the kind of programming we want to support. Miss Rosen, this connects directly to your reconciliation initiative. Olivia was studying the display intently. Dr. Westwood, your book on cultural preservation, the one that won the Governor General's Award, did it inform this approach? Yes, actually, that research became the foundation for our entire curatorial philosophy. I read it when I was preparing for this role, Olivia said. It should be required reading for anyone working in cultural policy. Something warm bloomed in my chest, despite everything. My work mattered. It reached people. Even if my own brother had never bothered to read a single page. We moved to my office for the formal discussion of future partnerships. I laid out our proposal for a traveling exhibition program that would bring Indigenous art to smaller communities across Canada. The funding requirement is substantial, I acknowledged, but the cultural impact would be unprecedented. We've already secured partnership commitments from 12 regional museums and 8 Indigenous cultural centers. Olivia was taking notes. This is incredibly comprehensive. Can you send me the full proposal? I'd like to present it to the committee next week. Of course. I'll have my assistant send it this afternoon. Minister Okeke checked her watch. I hate to cut this short, but we have another appointment at 4:30. Of course. Thank you both for your time. As they gathered their things, Olivia turned to me. Dr. Westwood, I know this is somewhat informal, but I'm having a small dinner party Saturday evening. Just a few people from the arts community and some policy colleagues. Would you be interested in joining? I think you'd have a lot to contribute to the conversation. Saturday evening. My mother's birthday dinner. The one I'd been uninvited from because I wasn't prestigious enough to meet Olivia's parents. I kept my expression neutral. Saturday? What time? 7:30. It's at my partner's condo in Yorkville. Very casual, just good conversation and wine. She smiled. His mother's birthday, actually. She's turning 60 and wanted something low-key with interesting people. The irony was so perfect it was almost painful. That sounds lovely, I said. I'd be delighted to attend. Olivia pulled out her phone. Let me get your number. I'll text you the address. We exchanged numbers. The address she sent was Marcus's condo, the one he'd bought 3 years ago, the one he was so proud of, with its floor-to-ceiling windows and view of the CN Tower. After they left, Priya came into my office. She'd been hovering near the door for the last 15 minutes. So, she invited me to Saturday's dinner. The birthday dinner you were uninvited from. The very same. Natalie, you have to tell them. I will. At the dinner. That's evil. Is it? I was perfectly professional. She invited me. I accepted. It's not my fault. Marcus never bothered to mention my full name or where I work. Priya bit her lip, trying not to smile. This is going to be so awkward. Probably. Your mom's going to love it. I called my mother that evening. Mom, I'm coming to your birthday dinner after all. Oh, sweetheart. Did Marcus apologize? Not exactly. But I received a personal invitation from Olivia. She doesn't know I'm Marcus's sister yet. There was a long pause. Natalie Rose Westwood. What did you do? Nothing. I met her professionally today. She invited me to a dinner party. I said yes. It's not my responsibility to connect the dots Marcus never drew. My mother laughed, then tried to stop herself. I shouldn't find this funny. But you do. I really do. He's been going on for days about how Olivia's meeting all these important people in the arts community, how she's so impressive, how her dinner party is going to be so sophisticated. She paused. He has no idea his little sister is one of those important people, does he? Not a clue. This is terrible. I'm a bad mother for enjoying this. You're a great mother who's watched her son dismiss his sister for 6 years. You're allowed to enjoy a little karma. Saturday evening, I chose my outfit carefully. Nothing too flashy. Nothing that screamed, I'm proving a point. Just a simple black dress, understated jewelry, my hair down for once instead of in its usual professional bun. I took an Uber to Marcus's building in Yorkville, arriving exactly at 7:30. The concierge called up, and Marcus's voice came through the intercom. Yeah? Sir? There's a Dr. Westwood here for Miss Rosen's dinner party. A pause. Send them up. The elevator ride to the 23rd floor felt both too long and too short. I checked my reflection in the mirrored walls. I looked calm. I felt like I was about to jump off a cliff. The elevator doors opened directly into Marcus's condo foyer. I could hear conversation and laughter from inside. I rang the bell. Marcus opened the door, already talking. Sorry, the concierge said Westwood. And I thought, no, it must be. He stopped mid-sentence, staring at me. Nat, what are you doing here? I was invited, I said calmly. Is this a bad time? But... He looked genuinely confused. Olivia invited you? She did. May I come in? He stepped back automatically, and I walked into the condo. It really was beautiful. The view of the city at night was spectacular. About a dozen people were scattered around the open-concept living space. Cocktails in hand, I spotted my mother immediately. She was talking to an older couple who must be Olivia's parents. And when she saw me, her face lit up with barely suppressed delight. Olivia appeared from the kitchen, wine glass in hand. Dr. Westwood, you made it. I'm so glad. She linked her arm through mine, leading me into the room. Everyone, I want to introduce someone special. This is Dr. Natalie Westwood, Chief Curator at the ROM. Natalie, this is my father, Justice Edmund Rosen, and my mother, Margaret Rosen. And this is, she gestured to my mother, Marcus's mother, Helen Westwood. My mother and I had the same last name. I watched the realization start to form on Olivia's face. Wait, Olivia said slowly. Westwood, Helen Westwood, and I'm Natalie Westwood, I said gently, Marcus's sister. The room didn't go silent, not quite, but there was a definite shift in energy. People who'd been pretending not to listen were now overtly paying attention. Marcus appeared at Olivia's shoulder. Liv, I can explain. Explain what? Olivia's voice was very calm, very lawyer-like. That you never mentioned your sister runs the Royal Ontario Museum? She doesn't run it, I'm the chief curator, I said. I oversee all exhibitions, acquisitions, and cultural programming. It's not quite running the entire museum, but it's a significant leadership role. Justice Rosen extended his hand. Dr. Westwood, I've read your work on cultural repatriation. Brilliant stuff. You testified before the Senate committee last year, didn't you? I did, yes. Your recommendations shaped the new legislation. I referenced your testimony in a judgment I wrote last month. Olivia was staring at Marcus. You told me your sister worked at a museum. You made it sound like she sold tickets or worked in the gift shop. I didn't. That's not. You said, and I quote, she's not really in a position to meet your parents. Different social circles. My mother made a small sound. You said that about Natalie? Marcus's face was red. Mom, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. Your sister has a PhD from U of T. She's published 3 books. She's won a Governor General's Award. She's been appointed to the Order of Canada. And you thought she wasn't good enough to have dinner with Olivia's parents? I'm on the Order of Canada, I said. 2 weeks ago, Mom said proudly. It was in the news. But your brother was too busy to notice. Olivia had gone very still. When she spoke, her voice was ice. Marcus, can I speak to you in the bedroom? Now. They disappeared down the hall. The remaining guests did their best to pretend nothing had happened, but my mother came straight to me. I'm sorry, she whispered. I should have corrected him years ago. It's not your job to make him see me, Mom. Justice Rosen approached us, his wife beside him. Dr. Westwood, I hope this hasn't made the evening too uncomfortable. Please, call me Natalie. And honestly, I'm just glad I could make it to Mom's birthday. Margaret Rosen smiled warmly. Olivia's been talking all week about the brilliant curator she met. She had no idea you were Marcus's sister. I think she's rather mortified. From the bedroom, we could hear raised voices. Not the words, but the tone. Olivia was not happy. The dinner party continued in a strange, suspended sort of way. People asked me about my work, about the museum, about my research. It was almost normal except for the elephant in the room, or rather, the argument in the bedroom. After 20 minutes, Olivia emerged alone. Her makeup was impeccable, but her eyes were red. She came straight to me. Natalie, can we talk privately? We went out onto the balcony. The October air was cool, and Toronto spread out below us like a carpet of lights. I owe you an enormous apology, Olivia said. You didn't know. That's not an excuse. I should have. Marcus talks about family so rarely. I should have asked more questions. And the fact that she stopped, choosing her words carefully. He led me to believe you weren't accomplished, that you wouldn't fit in with my family or my professional circle. And I believed him without question. It's okay. It's not okay. Do you know what I told my parents? I said we weren't inviting Marcus's sister because she probably wouldn't be comfortable around our kind of people. Olivia's voice broke slightly. I was so condescending. I was so casually cruel. And God, you're exactly the kind of person I want to know. Your work is everything I care about. I leaned against the balcony railing. Marcus has been seeing me as less than for a long time. You just reflected what he told you. But I'm a lawyer. I'm trained to verify information, to dig deeper, to question assumptions. And I just took his word for it. She wiped her eyes. I think I need to seriously reconsider this relationship. Olivia. No, I mean it. What does it say about someone that they can't celebrate their own sister's success? What does it say that he was embarrassed by you? She laughed bitterly. You're going to be appointed to the Order of Canada, and he thought you weren't good enough for a birthday dinner. Through the glass door, I could see Marcus standing by the kitchen island, alone, looking lost. He's insecure, I said. Always has been. Dad left when I was 6, and Marcus felt like he had to be the success story, the one who made it. When I started achieving things academically, I think it threatened his sense of identity. That's not your burden to carry. No, it's not. But he's still my brother. Olivia looked at me for a long moment. You're a better person than I am. I've had 6 years to make peace with who Marcus is. You've had 20 minutes. We went back inside. The party had fractured into small conversations, everyone carefully not staring at the bedroom door where Marcus had disappeared again. My mother caught my eye and mouthed, "You okay?" I nodded. At 9, people started to leave. Justice and Margaret Rosen said warm goodbyes, extracting promises from me to join them for lunch soon. Other guests filtered out, thanking Olivia for hosting despite the obvious tension. Finally, it was just me, my mother, Olivia, and Marcus, who had emerged looking like a scolded child. "Mom," he said quietly, "I'm sorry. Happy birthday. It's not me you need to apologize to." He turned to me. "Nat, He stopped, started again. "I didn't know. About your job. I mean, I knew you worked at the ROM, but I didn't know I didn't realize." "You never asked," I said simply. "Not once in 6 years did you ask me what I actually do. I thought you were like, I don't know, a researcher or something, in the back somewhere. I didn't know you were running exhibitions and meeting with ministers and—" He gestured helplessly. "Writing books? Testifying to Parliament? Being appointed to the Order of Canada? When did that happen?" 2 weeks ago. It was in the Globe and Mail." He sat down heavily on the couch. "I'm a terrible brother." "Yeah," I said. "You kind of are." Olivia stood with her arms crossed. "Marcus, I think you need to understand something. I didn't fall in love with you because of your condo or your business success. I fell in love with who I thought you were. A good man. A family man." Her voice hardened. "But a man who dismisses his own sister's accomplishments, who's embarrassed by her, who can't even bother to know what she does. That's not someone I recognize. Liv, please. I need time, she said. Time to think about whether this relationship is something I want to continue. Because if you can't celebrate your sister's success, if you can't support the women in your life, I don't know if you're ready for the kind of partnership I need. My mother stood. Natalie, let's go. I think Marcus and Olivia need to talk. In the elevator down, Mom took my hand. I'm proud of you. For coming tonight. For handling that with such grace. I didn't do it to be graceful. I did it because I was hurt and petty and wanted him to feel stupid. You did it because you deserved to be at your mother's birthday dinner. Everything else is just karma. We had dinner, just the two of us, at a little Italian place near her house in the annex. She told me stories about Marcus as a child, before Dad left, when he'd been protective and sweet and proud of his baby sister. He loved you so much, she said. When you were born, he carried your baby carrier around the house like you were made of glass. He'd read to you every night, even though you couldn't understand the words yet. What happened? Life happened. Your father left, and Marcus decided he had to be the man of the house at 8 years old. Then you started excelling at everything. Academics and writing, and all the things that came so hard to him. I think it broke something in him, having a little sister who made everything look easy. I never meant to. I know, sweetheart, and it's not your fault. He made his choices. He chose ego over connection. That's on him, not you. I didn't hear from Marcus for 3 days. But on Wednesday, he texted. Can we talk? Coffee? We met at a Starbucks near the museum. He looked tired, like he hadn't been sleeping well. Olivia and I broke up, he said. I felt a stab of guilt. Marcus, it wasn't because of you. Well, not just because of you. She said she'd been noticing things for a while. The way I talk about people, the way I measure success. She said what happened at the party was just the final straw. He stirred his coffee without drinking it. She said if I couldn't respect my own sister, how could she trust me to respect her career if it ever eclipsed mine? I'm sorry. Don't be. She was right. He finally looked at me. Nat, I've been a complete ass to you. For years. And I don't even have a good excuse. You were just so smart and everything came so easy to you. And I was jealous. I've been jealous of my baby sister since we were kids. And instead of being proud, I diminished you. I made you small in my head so I could feel big. Marcus, let me finish. I read your book, the one that won the Governor General's Award. I stayed up all night reading it. And Nat, it's brilliant. You're brilliant. You're doing work that actually matters, that changes how people think about culture and history and identity. And I'm just building condos that all look the same. You're successful. I'm financially successful. But your legacy successful. People will remember your work long after my buildings are torn down. He reached across the table, took my hand. I'm so sorry. For all of it. For not asking about your life. For being embarrassed by you when I should have been shouting your accomplishments from the rooftops. For uninviting you from Mom's birthday like you were some kind of embarrassment when you're someone I should have been proud to introduce to anyone. I felt tears pricking my eyes. I missed you, the brother you used to be. I'm going to try to be that person again. Therapy, probably. And actually asking you about your life instead of assuming. He squeezed my hand. Can you forgive me? Eventually? Eventually, I said. But Marcus, you have to actually change, not just say you will. I know. I'm going to prove it to you. And slowly, he did. He showed up to my next exhibition opening. He read my articles when they were published. He called Mom and asked about me, actually listening to the answers. When I gave a lecture at U of T, he was in the audience. It wasn't instant. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. But he was trying, genuinely trying, and that mattered. 6 months later, I ran into Olivia at a government reception. She smiled when she saw me, and we found a quiet corner to talk. How is he? She asked. Better. Growing. Actually asking about people's lives, instead of assuming. I'm glad. I think about him sometimes. About us. She paused. But I don't regret the breakup. It showed me what I need in a partner. Someone who celebrates success, doesn't feel threatened by it. You'll find that person. Maybe I already have, she said with a small smile. But that's a story for another time. A year after Mom's disastrous birthday dinner, we had another party. This time, Marcus insisted on hosting a proper celebration for my appointment to the Order of Canada. He invited everyone. Colleagues from the museum, friends from university, family from across Canada. And when it came time for toasts, he stood up, glass in hand. A year ago, he said, I stood in this condo and realized I didn't know my own sister. I'd spent so long seeing her through the lens of my own insecurity that I'd missed the incredible person she'd become. He looked at me. Nat, you've taught me something crucial. Success isn't a competition. Your achievements don't diminish mine. They inspire them. And I'm sorry it took me so long to figure that out. He raised his glass. To Dr. Natalie Westwood, Chief Curator, author, advocate, and the sister I'm finally smart enough to be proud of. Everyone drank, and I felt my mother's hand squeeze mine under the table. Later, as guests were leaving, a young woman approached me. She was maybe 22, shy, clutching a copy of my book. Dr. Westwood? I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm a grad student in anthropology at York. Your work is the reason I chose this field. I wanted to thank you. That's not a botheration at all, I said. What's your focus? West African cultural preservation, specifically textile traditions. I'm trying to develop a framework for community-led museum curation. We talked for 20 minutes about her research, about challenges and opportunities, about the field we both loved. When she left, she looked energized, hopeful, ready to tackle her dissertation. Marcus watched from across the room. Later, he said, that girl, the grad student. That's impact, real impact. It's just a conversation. No, it's more than that. You changed her path. Your work gives people permission to care about the things you care about. That's not just success, Nat. That's legacy. I thought about that conversation a lot in the months that followed. About what success really means. About the difference between achievement and fulfillment. Marcus makes more money than I do. His condo is worth probably 3 times what my apartment is. On paper, by conventional metrics, he's more successful. But I go to work every day and help preserve culture. I facilitate dialogue between communities. I make sure that stories aren't lost, that histories are honored, that voices are heard. I write books that change how people think. I mentor students who will carry this work forward. That's the thing about being underestimated. It clarifies what really matters. When people don't see your worth, you learn to measure it by your own metrics. And those metrics, I've found, are usually more meaningful than the ones society hands you. Marcus and I are rebuilding our relationship, slowly, carefully. He's learning to ask questions instead of making assumptions. He's learning that supporting someone else's success doesn't diminish his own. He's learning that love, real love, means celebrating the people you care about instead of competing with them. It's a lesson I wish he'd learned earlier. It's a lesson I wish more people would learn before they damage relationships that matter. But here's what I know now. You can't force people to see you. You can't make them value what you do. You can only keep doing work that matters. Keep being true to who you are, and let the people who matter find their way to you. And sometimes, just sometimes, karma has a sense of humor. Sometimes, the sister you uninvited from dinner because she's not impressive enough turns out to be exactly the person your girlfriend was hoping to meet. Sometimes the museum gift shop worker is actually running the museum. Sometimes the assumptions you make say more about you than they do about anyone else. The real revenge isn't in watching someone realize they were wrong. It's in knowing you were right about yourself all along. And that's something no one can take away from you, no matter how much they try to make you feel small. You know your worth. You know your value. And that knowledge, that certainty, is the sweetest victory of all.